Greetings, GameCola faithful, and welcome to the GameCola Podcast. This is podcast number 147, not 140 and I am your host and podcast commander, Joseph Martin, joined by...
Alex the Jeddy... Alex the
Jeddy Jeddy.
Yeah, that's me.
And...
Sorry.
Oh, so it's Alex the Jeddy blah 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 and sorry.
Sorry.
Can we get some actual names here real quick, though?
Anna Bryniarski.
This will be... Yes, this will be somebody's first podcast. So, Anna Bryniarski and Alex Jedraszczak, not in that order. And of course, once again, I am Joseph Martin, in case you forgot what real names sound like. Between blah, blah, blah and
Oh, well, here I thought you were making fun of Jedraszczak and Bryniarski.
I noticed that could be one of the interpretations as I was saying it, and I quickly made sure to clarify that that's not what I meant.
I know those Polish last names are pretty difficult, but...
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna call out your names, though, to be fair, my name is the most boring name that you could possibly have after John Smith.
Yeah.
Joe Martin.
Oh, man.
So this is...
Oh, no, I was just thinking about Martin Joseph. Sorry, never mind.
Video games are pieces of media entertainment that you can play in addition to just watching. But what you may know is that you can also watch things about video games directly, you may even say. I think it is prudent. I don't know what I was going with the M there. We should talk about the Nintendo Direct that happened earlier.
Okay.
There were lots of video games that everyone on this podcast was super excited for and can remember, right?
Sure.
Jeddy, what's your favorite game that was mentioned in the Nintendo Direct?
The only one that I even remember is Tales from the Borderlands, which I'm a fan of Borderlands, and it's like adventure game, point-and-click adventure. So I'm excited.
Has it come out on other platforms, or is this like the release?
No, it's been out for actually quite a while. But I don't know, for some reason I never got around to actually sitting down and buying it. But now that it's going to be available on the Switch, I'm a little more interested in getting back to it. I'm not a huge fan of Steam as a business, so I prefer to buy on Nintendo.
I just worry that it won't work on my 7-year-old computer, and I know video games will work on my 3-year-old Switch, so I just sort of stick with that. The games that I remember that stuck out to me, well, first of all, we had the Smash reveal, the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 double character, that Diana was very excited about, and everyone else was upset, apparently, on Twitter.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, well, because it's an anime sword fighter.
Oh, yeah, everyone hates the sword people.
Yeah, like, honestly, for me, it was more like specifically Fire Emblem, because all the Fire Emblem sword fighters kind of fought the same way. Well, I feel like...
Is this another... I mean, I didn't look too closely because I've never played Xenoblade. Is it another thing like the Dragon Quest ones, where the hero is technically just one character? But you get all four of them?
No. It's two distinct characters from the video game Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Okay,
like,
yeah.
Specific characters. It's from the second game.
Well, yeah, but I didn't know if they were, like, in the same way that the Dragon Quest hero, you get 4 heroes, but it's technically one option.
No, like, I don't know. Like, you can switch between them, and, like, that has some sort of basis in the game. Like, it's not just... I don't think it's just 2 different characters. I think, like... The fact that they can switch between each other has some, like, connection to the video game that they come from. I don't know what. I just remember that they are technically swords and not people.
Oh,
rocks that turn into swords. Rocks that turn into women in ways that make some people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But that's the extent that I know. I think we can talk to Diana about it more once Diana is on the podcast and once the character is out later in March. The other things I remember, the the spiritual sequel, the thematic, the aesthetic sequel to Octopath Traveler, Triangle Strategy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, like, it seems like they did it on purpose, right?
Project Triangle Strategy. I do like so much that, like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, no, it should be Project Triangle Strategy, but it's not. It's Project Triangle Strategy.
So it's a tactical RPG. So like Final Fantasy Tactics, more like Fire Emblem-esque stuff, to my impression, with a focus on like making decisions that have like, you know, do you believe, I don't remember what the categories are, but like, do you believe in truth, ideals, or passion, or something like that? Like 3 characteristics that don't really mean anything, and it's kind of can just be whatever the game wants it to be. Yeah. So that you can't just pick this, like it wants to try to trick you into, you should pick what you really believe, and then everyone's going to be like, I want to pick the one that makes me interact with the character that I like.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know, like, Anna, you played Octopath Traveler.
Yeah, I haven't finished it yet, though.
Have you seen did you get a good... My question is, and maybe you can answer it and maybe you can't, was if there seemed to be any connection between the 2 games beyond the fact that they're made by the same people, have the same weird naming strategy, and, like, clearly the same artistic style. But, like, in terms of, like, characters or anything like that, was there any connection that you could see?
I saw nothing. I'm really sorry. You were kept asking questions, and I'm just like, I didn't watch any of this.
I have a feeling that it's like they paid programmers several $1,000s to develop this graphical system. We're using it in another game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like
well, I didn't know if maybe there'd be like a connection like Final Fantasy games. You know, there's not necessarily a plot thread that goes through all Final Fantasy, but there are
there's
common
and
elements and
SIDS and
continuous references and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Maybe it'll be something like that, or maybe it'll be like you said, like they just developed an engine and now they're just going to make games in that engine and hope that people jump into them just because, oh, I remember that was like a game that I played, even if the underlying game has nothing to do with it. That's basically a different thing with that is like a lot of the Mega Man games. I'm going to bring Mega Man in just immediately now. I'm going to talk about it later, so there's no point in holding it off. Like Mega Man Legends and Mega Man Battle Network, like there are very, very loose connections narratively, but like practically speaking, there's like no relation between the games. They're just completely different games with completely different characters that just have some naming similarities. But like, if you like, you know, classic Mega Man jump and shoot, are you going to like Battle Network where you like do these weird RPG battles where you throw chips around and spend a lot of the time just walking around talking to anime characters? Yeah. So it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. Next that I can remember, Skyward Sword porting to the Switch.
There are a lot of people in one of my Facebook groups that are just really salty about this. They're just upset. They're just like, why would we want this 10-year-old game for $10 more than it was when it came out? I was like, dang.
Like, I get it. I understand. What I don't understand is I feel like we did the exact same thing with Wind Waker HD, but everyone was jazzed about it, and I don't understand why it's different now.
No one liked Skyward Sword, apparently. No, I don't know,
people
man.
like Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it just, I see what you're, like, I didn't think that this time with Skyward Sword because I thought that last time with Wind Waker, and everyone was like, no, we're actually really excited about this. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's fine then with people. And now we're getting to Skyward Sword. It's like, this feels like the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand it. To me, it's like one of those things where it's like charging too much for a thing. It's like, I don't know. People will pay for it. They're charging what people will pay for it. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. To a certain extent, that's just like when people say, well, look at this collection with these games and look at how much, they did with Crash and Spyro. I'm like, yes, absolutely. Completely agree. But no one was going to buy the games if they weren't like that. Or no one was going to buy them at that price for sure if they weren't like that. But people will buy Nintendo games like that. I mean, Nintendo games hold their value. There is, whether or not you agree with it, there is a cultural expectation of quality with, Nintendo first-party games that just can maintain that image and that value in the eyes of people. And I don't know if you can really fight that. Because all it leads to is people getting mad at people for buying a game that they wanted to play.
Yep.
It's like, why would you buy this? Now I can't buy it because you're making games cost more. It's like, I don't feel like that ever ends up being productive. If people will buy it if they want it, and they won't if they won't. And, I don't know. To a certain extent, as a business decision, even though I'm happy for the people who are happy for it, I also question, this game doesn't really feel that old, and it doesn't necessarily, aside from adding the non-motion control strategy, which is, good, well overdue, major issue with the first game, both in terms of, the motion control wasn't really up to snuff of what the game was developed around, and also, accessibility issues that come with motion controls in general. But aside from that, every time you modernize a game, there's diminishing returns. So, how much better is it going to look? I think it does look better, but it's going to be a lot more marginal than Wind Waker was. Wind Waker, you can easily tell that the game looks a lot better on Wii U. The difference is not as apparent going from GameCube to Wii U is a bigger jump than Wii to Switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now again, though, there's a lot of people who would be like, hey, I can play Skyward Sword wherever I want now. That's an appeal with porting pretty much any game to the Switch, is you can play it literally wherever you want. I get to play video games in my bed, and I don't have to hook up the TV. I can just keep my TV as a second monitor that I use to look at the Audacity waveform as I'm recording a podcast. It's great. I don't know, do you guys have any other opinions? I feel like I talked about Skyward Sword a lot just now.
Isn't that the one where you have to wave the thing around?
Yes.
Yes. So this is, sorry.
Oh yeah. Just, I guess, I mean, I know that there is some functionality of that in the Joy-Con, but I don't think it's quite to the same level as it was on the Wii.
I don't know. The Joy-Con's motion controls are pretty good, and they'll have the motion on there, but then they're also right, they also said that they're going to have the button controls, the non-motion controls, where you point the control stick, the non-walking control stick, in a certain direction while you slash, and that will determine the direction of your slash, because the game is built around you being able to slash your sword in different directions based on the motion controls. My theory is that, right, it was developed with the Wii Motion Plus, which made the motion control of the Wii remote better. I think there's roll, pitch, and yaw, and the sensor in the plain Wii remote only had 2. I forget, I think it's just roll and pitch, and the Wii Motion Plus can do yaw.
Interesting.
Or something like that. I don't remember which one. But I still think that when they were developing Skyward Sword, they were promised better technology than the Wii Motion Plus actually delivered. And so a lot of the stuff that the game was built around didn't end up being feasible
I remember,
in the way that they originally designed it.
I remember complaints at the time.
So we'll see. I mean, if people will buy it, they'll buy it, and if they don't, they won't. Or they won't, they don't. I don't know. Words have meaning, probably, but who's really to say? And then the last thing of my interest, though there's plenty of other stuff, and if you're excited for that, good for you. But the last thing that I can remember, at least, was the Splatoon 3 announcement, which is interesting because Splatoon 2 also came out on the Switch.
Yeah.
And I'm not upset. I think it's cool. I never played any of the Splatoon games, but I've always been interested in them. The community that it sort of, especially in Miiverse, Splatoon and Miiverse were like peas in a pod. that was probably the most mileage for a game they got out of Miiverse was with the original Splatoon. And Splatoon 2 seemed like it was pretty popular, and now they're bringing in Splatoon 3, and I'm curious what they're going to do with that. Is it just going to be like a better Splatoon 2? Because usually that works better when you're moving to a different console. And to be fair, the game's not coming out until next year, 2022. So maybe by then there will be some like beefed up model of the Switch that Splatoon 2 can like take advantage of, or Splatoon 3 rather. Splatoon, right? You have Splatoon, and Splatoon.
Yeah, no, I saw your Twitter post.
It was a good Twitter post.
Yeah,
it was good.
Your
And it's definitely the only person who's ever made that joke. But yeah, Anna, you said you played some of Splatoon 2, right?
Some of it, not very much. I'm not very good at the game.
Did you play like the single player or the multiplayer?
Single player. That's
the thing I'm interested in too. Like there is like an underlying lore and story to Splatoon.
Mm-hmm.
You're very classic, like, oh, humanity died and got replaced by the Splatoon creatures. And that's why there's the Splatoon creatures, and that's why the building is upside down in the opening of Splatoon 3. Though I've heard people say that it is not the Eiffel Tower, it is like the Las Vegas Tower that looks like the Eiffel Tower. Or maybe it's a tower from one of the in-game cities, and like this is even further in the future than you thought. I don't know. I'll be curious to know if like you can just jump into Splatoon 3 without knowing any of the rest of the lore, or if I'm gonna have to like watch video. I don't feel like I should just buy Splatoon 1 and 2 just to play the single player mode, because it's not what the game is like built around, and there's not going to be people playing the multiplayer modes because they're all going to be playing Splatoon 3. So I'm curious how that will bear out. I'm sure I'll ask some people and get some opinions on that once it is relevant. Or maybe if you have an opinion about it that you would like to share with me, Joseph Martin, you can comment in some fashion on iTunes or the Discord or Twitter or something. You can figure it out. I have plenty of ways to be contacted about video games.
Yeah, you
can tell other people on the staff about video games too. You don't have to just do it to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you come into the Discord, there's plenty of people who are talking about video games.
Anna, what would you want people to tell you about video games?
Just good things about video games. I don't want to hear.
Like what?
I don't want to hear news. No, that's a lie. I don't know. I'll listen to anything, but I probably won't respond to every single thing. I don't keep up with a lot of gaming news, so I don't know what's going on half the time. Everyone else seems to know.
What if they wanted to talk to you about Hades?
Absolutely. Somebody could definitely talk to me about Hades. Hey, Jeddy, have you played Hades?
I have. It's been a little bit, but I continue, like, every once in a while, like, it keeps rolling through, is that not 100% of my, the people I follow on Twitter have played it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I'll get these waves where someone's like, hey, is Hades a good game? I'm thinking about checking it out. And then, just for, like, a month, just nothing but Hades from that person.
Yep.
And then they start to fade away. And then the torch is passed to somebody else.
Yes, that seems like how it's going on my Twitter feed as well.
I'll make sure that when I eventually play Hades in time for the middle year end awards, this year, I'll make sure to tweet a lot about it so that the cycle can continue for you, Jeddy.
Yes, thank you.
So, Hades. I gave a full rundown last month about Hades.
Oh yeah, I listened to that.
So
on the GameCola podcast? I listened to that.
Yeah.
I listened to it
on YouTube.
On YouTube, actually. Yeah, I watched it on YouTube. That way I could listen to it at double speed. No offense.
Well, we do get less watch time for that.
Full
but
offense.
I appreciate it anyway. Yeah, I tested it out once.
Interesting. I tend to basically only watch things on YouTube at double speed unless it's like music. Unless music is involved. I watch the opening of the GameCola podcast where you play Five's Average by Mateo Javier. I watch that at normal speed. And then after that's done, as soon as I hear you start speaking, Joe, I speed it up.
You don't even want to hear my joke in normal speed. The whole rhythm of it is focused on that particular cadence of speed. I can't imagine that I am the least bit intelligible at double speed. Anyway, Anna, you were saying things about the video game Hades on our video game podcast, which is definitely about video games.
Yes, so, Hades. I have made progress in the game. Spoiler alert, I've gotten Hades down once, but then he did the thing that I hate, especially in Pokemon, where all their health just comes back. And I knew it was coming, but I was still upset. Pretty sure I texted Cam right after that happened, and I was like, well, I think I have to give up on this game forever. I am getting better at the game. I still cannot stand the Elysium fight. I can't stand the satyrs or the poison rats on the surface level. That sucks. I still love Cerberus. I'll never not love Cerberus. But there's an item you can get when you beat the Elysium fight for the first time with a weapon. Because this only happens once per weapon. You have to, like, if you've already gotten it with the spear, you have to go back with something else to get this item again. The bow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Called Ambrosia. And throughout the game, you can give people nectar that you find, and it makes them like you more. And so I gave my only bottle of Ambrosia that I had, that I didn't trade, to my edgy death boyfriend, Thanatos. And I think I'm getting close to getting a kiss, so I'm pretty excited for that. But that was one aspect of the game I wasn't expecting when I started playing it. I was like, oh, this is almost a dating sim now. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I do like that they explore a lot of different types of relationships with that, because, like, it's not just about dating, you know?
Yeah.
I guess I don't know how many Ambrosias you've given away or anything.
One.
You just had the one?
I just had the one.
Yeah, there gets to be a point late in the game where it's like, how can I hold all these ambrosia? Like, you start getting so many as you just, like, plow through. Oh, yeah, because you haven't opened the, what was it, the Pact of Punishment?
Yes.
Yeah, there starts to be a point where you're just, like, plowing through, and every single time you're just getting full up on all these things. You're trying to figure out how to spend all of your bloods or whatever, Titan bloods. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think I got everybody except for Hypnos, only because you had to do something stupid and specific to get his to trigger, and then by the time that I did, some other story was going, and the other things to keep it continuing weren't triggering because it was tripped up by some other story element. Mm-hmm. So I ended up actually giving up, which I'm disappointed about because he's my favorite character. But to say that I played like 3 months straight of that game, like October through January or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a very good game. I would suggest it. I guess here's the thing: is for me. Well, here, Anna. I guess how many runs have you made?
I think I've done 55 at this point.
Yeah. And I guess that's the thing is, I enjoyed the game, but it only took me like 35 for my first time that I actually, like, defeated Hades and got out. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I don't know that I would have enjoyed the game as much if it was like what I've read some people on Twitter who are like, oh yeah, I've done 100 runs. I think I'm getting close to beating Hades. And I'm like, you like the game that much, even though you're not really getting anywhere. Like, no offense, but, like, I feel like you're limiting what you can do in the story if you're not getting further, you know?
Right.
And are you playing I know that there's the mode where like every time you die, you get like a defense buff. Have you guys been using that or not?
Is that a thing?
Apparently, I've heard it.
Don't know what that means.
I don't remember. Is there like an easy mode and a hard mode? I think I'm just playing normal.
There was like some god mode setting or something like that, or like demigod mode, where every time you die, you get a defense buff. So you're always getting better every single time you die.
Interesting.
I have not been playing god mode at all. I've heard about it a few times.
It's just something I've heard.
I've not played it at all.
I thought that might, for anyone listening, that might be pertinent information in terms of like how many runs it took you to beat the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would definitely say if there is a way to make the game easier, it's worth. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, no, you're just not good enough. You don't deserve to play the game. Like, go play the game on easy mode. Like, go play the game on some mode that just lets you not take damage. Just play it for fun mode.
Yeah.
It's fun just to get the stories and stuff, like to meet everybody, to keep talking to Artemis and hearing about her having fun on hunts or whatever. I just always love talking to her.
I love all of them. So good.
Dionysus.
He's just...
Dionysus is one of my favorites to talk to.
He's great.
Yeah, no, like, play it in some manner, whichever manner you find most fun, because it is quite a fun game, an enjoyable story. Pet the dog every time you get back.
Every time. And if you don't, you're a fake fan. Just saying.
That's Anna's one gatekeep.
My one gatekeep. If you don't pet Cerberus,
everybody
you're
gets
a
one.
fake fan. Please do not take me seriously. Do not yell at me. I do not take yelling well. But there's a lot more story to it than I was expecting.
Yeah. There's a surprising amount, even after you beat the game and even after you get the credits for the game.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of spoken dialogue, like a surprising amount.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, again, I've made over 100 runs after escaping and after beating the game, and they're still talking to me.
Sounds like listening to episodes of the GameCola Podcast.
Oh. Yeah, but ching.
They're still talking to me.
They will not stop. And you're right, we won't.
So you think they're gonna make a Hades 2?
I hope not. I feel like that's not necessary.
I've had that thought myself that, like, number one, of my knowledge of the development, they already have just extended the storyline. That originally it ended at one point, and then it ended after you defeated Hades, and then it ended after the things that happened after that. And so if they were to make a Hades 2, I think they would actually just make, well, here's another storyline after you've done this many runs and triggered this many events. Another, critical path comes up that lets you continue the story. We've just added another 5 hours worth of dialogue or whatever. And I guess that's the thing is, would it be fun and interesting if they did try to make a new game? Like, just go make a different game at that point.
Right. I mean, I feel like that's probably what's going to happen, right? Because this developer, I forget their name.
Supergiant Games.
Supergiant Games, yeah. They tend to, like, jump around and, like, they have, like, a distinct style, I would say. But at the same time, like, each game is, like, clearly different. But also, like, there's, like, a vibe that you get from the game. Like, Bastion is one.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say Hades is like Bastion 4. Because I was also playing, I never actually beat it, Transistor. It's more linear than Hades. It's not like, a roguelike kind of sort of game where, like, you keep going back in through the dungeon again and again. It's like, you go through, but it's the same play style. It's the same battle system, essentially, and the same, like, storytelling methods. Just a completely different story, which I like, and actually I should probably get back to. But yeah, like, Transistor is Bastion 3 or whatever.
You also have to, because I feel like this is the most successful game that they've had, right? Like, Hades is blown up. I'm sure that, like...
Bastion was big in its own right at the time that it came out.
Right.
But this is like that peak crossing point of their capabilities as a developer, their standing as a developer, because like they weren't really known when Bastion came out, so like they're just coming out with this game that's good, and only people who are interested in quote indie games would play a game like that at the time. But now like they're a not really a AAA, but like a AAA indie, Yeah.
Right.
So they've got that crossing point of good game, budget, and fan base that let it explode this time.
Right, because I would say that Bastion was like, it was very good.
Yeah.
But like it also like, it felt there was budget in there, right? Like the art was really like there was a lot of effort put into the art, but like there was one voice actor and then a little bit of incidental that is a little spoilery that I won't go into detail of, but like it's really just one guy.
Yeah.
And he says a lot, but like, it's a really well done indie game, but it still feels like on the order of an indie game because that's probably what they had the budget for at the time.
Yeah.
And Hades, like you said, like it's not only like well received, but like the people who worked on Hades can like really put that on their resume as like, look at this thing that we've done.
Yeah.
Like, and like when they're, I don't know, from a networking and like really solidifying themselves in the industry, like they've clearly not only put a lot into this game, but did it in a way that worked.
Yeah.
And, meshed together. Like there's a ton of dialogue, but it doesn't get like you could just have the developers sit down for 50 hours and just talk about stuff. You could take clips of the GameCola podcast and put them in your video game. And that would have a lot of dialogue. It would also be very interesting to me personally, but probably most people would, even who are into the novelty of it, would be like, you know what? I'm getting a little tired of the fact that these people are clearly not talking about anything related to the actual video game that this dialogue is in.
Oh, I thought it was going to be one of those where like they cut up Obama speeches since he has like such a wide range of speeches and have him like, say famous
anything.
Movie lines or whatever, or like sing a song.
You could absolutely do that with the GameCola podcast. The only, like the main difference would be the audio quality throughout the years.
Yeah.
But you could get pretty much any of us to say just about anything. I'm sure you could get me to say literally anything at this point.
Yeah.
And it would sound like I said it on the GameCola podcast. But like being able to take all of this stuff and be able to do it in a way that was feasible and in a way that ended up making a product that could take advantage of all of that content, I think speaks to, I don't know if, like, as an indie developer, do they have to get, like, investments at this scale? Like, are they working with that? Are they working purely off of their own revenue? If they had to get investments before, does the success of Hades mean that they can focus more on just what they want to do internally and not have to rely as much on any outside support that they may have had? I don't know exactly how it works, but I feel like whatever they do next will be significantly influenced by Hades. Just like as it sounds like from what you're saying, like the success of Bastion really influenced the next few games that they made to the point that it kind of felt like they were Bastion 3 and 4.
Well, I guess I don't want to say that they're just like, either riding on the coattails of their old game or that they don't have any ideas or something like that. But like, I guess if this is a style of game that they enjoy creating and that they do well, it's like saying that Squaresoft makes a bunch of RPGs, like it's
right. But like what I'm adding is like each next game is clearly informed by the success of Bastion. You can see the successes that they had in Bastion and how they wanted to incorporate that into their other games.
Yeah. Okay.
Whereas I feel like Hades is a little bit more new in terms of like the kind of idea that they're tackling, though I'm sure there's still lessons that they learned from Bastion in there. It's not as...
Yeah.
It seems like they were trying to move away from a style that they had been working on before. And it's not a huge leap in genre. right? Like
Yeah.
the minute-to-minute gameplay of Hades is pretty similar to what I've seen of Bastion. It's just the micro cycle is very similar, but the macro cycle is very different.
Yeah.
In terms of that scale.
Yeah, no, I guess I thought at first that you were saying like, oh well, Bastion sold well, so let's make another one of those.
No.
But yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying.
When something works really well from an indie standpoint, like they definitely want to use that. Right, you get like you need like as an indie developer, you kind of need some sort of signature thing, so that people recognize you the next time you make a video game.
Yeah,
especially because they probably won't remember your name. I always forget their name. No offense to them, I'm just bad at remembering names of things. But like when I hear like, oh, by the same people that made Bastion, like I'm like, oh yeah. So then that sort of connects it, and so you want to be able to make that connection still. Yeah. The other thing you could do is just keep making the one game that you made that was really popular and continue doing that forever. And people seem to like that just as well, as might be noted by the fact that there is, as I posted in the GameCola Discord earlier, a Stardew Valley board game that just was announced and available. Did you guys see that link that I posted?
Yeah, it was also tagged in it on Twitter by another friend.
I would really think that they would have made the guy would have made Stardew Valley 2 at this point. I don't know, like you don't want to just copy the success, but also like, you know, Harvest Moon and Animal Crossing and all those things had like multiple games in the series. And like, you know, so you got like different characters. But if it's working, I guess, right? Like, what am I to say?
Yeah, I do feel like this happens with a lot of indie games, though, just kind of generally, that if a developer gets a hit game, that it then just turns into that's their game for the next 5 to 10 years, and that they don't really make anything else. They just focus on bug fixes and merchandising.
Or like, I mean, like Stardew Valley has expanded its content significantly.
Yeah, well, and I guess that's part of what I'm saying is like, keep people playing the game that already works rather than try to make something new. I mean, I can't say that I blame them exactly. I guess from a consumer side, that it disappoints me slightly. I would like to see some more games. But like, what was it, Yacht Club Games finally recently released something other than Shovel Knight? You know? Which is not to say that Shovel Knight is a bad game, but it's like, oh yeah, they made Shovel Knight. What else have they done?
The different and like the DLC expansions to Shovel Knight were pretty like robust, right? Like they were basically different games with the same graphics.
Yeah. Well, the Mega Man line of.
You know how I feel about Mega Man, so it wasn't much of a problem for me.
Yeah. But no,
so
what was it? Cyber Shadow, there we go, is the game that just came out.
Title sounds very cool.
Yeah, it looks really cool. They've definitely, again, like we were just talking about with Supergiant, they've taken the money that they made from Shovel Knight and, you know, dumped a significant amount into making the best game that they could for their I guess it's not exactly their second game. It looks like they did come out with Azure Striker Gunvolt.
No, I think they may have collaborated.
Okay.
Shovel Knight is in that.
Oh, okay. Actually, yeah, list of games.
And maybe they also...
It looks like it's the same story for this, actually, that they're the publisher. They're not the developer.
Oh, they published it? Okay. I mean, I know... That's Inti Creates, which we could go into all of that, too, Jeddy. Because if we just want to pivot now... Because you played Blaster Master Zero and Blaster Master Zero 2.
Yeah, that's where I know the name.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, no, and it's also... Hold on, Mighty Number 9, right?
So I don't remember. Did we talk about this on the podcast with you? No, because you weren't on the one where I talked about Mega Man Zero. So Inti Creates started as, well, they were ex-Capcom employees, and then they made 2 really bad games that didn't look good at all. I looked at them, and they looked not great. And then they basically said, Capcom and Keiji Inafune came in and said, you're going to make Mega Man Zero now. And they were like, well, people will buy those. So yes, so they would develop them and then Capcom would publish them. So they made the Mega Man Zero and ZX series, which is on that Legacy collection that I played and talked about on the last podcast. And then they made Mega Man 9 and 10. So I didn't realize, like, they made 8 Mega Man games.
Oh, wow.
And then, you know, Mega Man ceased to be in 2010 because Keiji Inafune left. And that is overtly cited as the reason that Mega Man stopped for a while. Also, perhaps the reasons that Inafune left were the reasons that Mega Man also maybe stopped working out so well. Yeah. I'm sure it was a little bit more complicated than that. But then, you know, we had the Mighty Number 9 Kickstarter, which I think was announced in like 2013. Something like that. And then Concept, which was the company that Inafune made after leaving Capcom, was the publisher, and Inti Creates was once again the developer. So it was not that different from when they were making Mega Man games.
Yeah.
Like, it was basically just the same people, but then Mighty Number 9 wasn't very good. And then there was also the whole Red Ash thing, right? Where they set up the next Kickstarter before Mighty Number 9 came out, and everyone was like, we already have concerns about the fact that Mighty Number 9 has been delayed and you were the most successful Kickstarter in the history of Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And then now you're asking us to fund another game before we can see what you did with the first one that we funded.
Yeah. So
that's suspicious. And then it failed, and then it got funded by a different company instead. And so that was a whole mess. But then later, they made the Blaster Master games.
Yeah, which I didn't make the connection that it was the same people.
Mm-hmm. You know, with a company like that, it's like, is it the literal same people, or were they all working on different projects and stuff?
Yeah.
You know, I think, and then the Azure Striker Gunvolt and the Mighty Gunvolt games, to my understanding, are also like seem like extensions to the Mega Man Zero and ZX sort of like gameplay style. Like, it's them basically taking those same mechanical frameworks and developing them with their own IP, which is why once I finish my current thing, which is getting all the achievements in the 2 Mega Man collections that I have, and then maybe also I might dip in, I don't know, I'm either going to move on to the Azure Striker series or the Gunvolt series, I don't know what you would call it. Or I'm going to play Mega Man X 5 through 8, which I'm definitely going to do at some point in my life, but also, like, I hear that most of those games aren't actually very good, but they are Mega Man.
Yeah.
So, like, I have to play them at some point.
I thought you were
so I might as well just do it.
I thought you were going to say you were going to play Blaster Master Zero.
No. No, I don't have... I played Blaster Master original in some sort of thing, and I did not enjoy it very much. So I'm not particularly interested in the game, even though I'm sure it's much better in its remixed, remaster, whatever. Yeah. So I just thought that was interesting.
Cool.
Anna, what games have you been playing in recent times?
Anna's depression game of the month is Spiritfarer, and it's really good, and it's cute, and also sad. There's more swearing in it than I was ready for, but I'm not upset about it. But it's a very good game. It feels a little like something that Studio Ghibli would do, just a little bit with the animals that you're taking care of, I guess is a good way to put it. You are taking people to their final rest, but you have to do stuff for them first, and they live on your boat. And it's a good game. It's cute, and you have a cat, and you can farm and fish, and
you can farm on a boat.
Yeah, you can farm on the boat. I have sunflower seeds right now, or my sunflowers are done growing. I have some other vegetables and some fruit trees. Most of the goodbyes I don't feel too sad about. There was only one that really got me, because I feel kind of sad and sensitive towards things like dementia and Alzheimer's. So that kind of played into one of the goodbyes, where at the end the character didn't remember who you were and thought you were her daughter until the very end, where she's just like, "Oh, you're not her," and I was like, "Oh no." But it's a very cute game. It's very good. I don't know how many more times I can say cute without just ruining the word for everyone till it sounds like nothing. But yeah, that's what I've been playing lately. Also Hades, I guess.
Joseph, what have you been playing?
I already said I've been playing Mega Man X and getting all the achievements, and there's not much more to say about it, I guess. It's the same games that I played before. My opinions have not changed that much. I am now like looking at weaknesses and walkthroughs when I don't know where something is, as opposed to the first time I played through all the games where I tried not to look at a walkthrough unless I was really stuck or I just was not having fun at all. And then, even then I try to just look up enough to figure out, like, am I doing something wrong, or is the game just like this? That was like 0-1 was very like, am I playing the game wrong? And the answer is like kind of, but not really. Just use save assist. The issue with this that sort of starts in some of Mega Man X and develops into a full-blown problem in Mega Man Zero is that the games start to be balanced around systems that you are not informed of. So like Mega Man Zero has a combo system, right? Because you think in a lot of games like Mega Man, you hit an enemy, right? And then you have to wait a bit before you can hit the enemy again.
Yeah.
So it flashes during that. In Mega Man Zero, there are a lot of ways where you can do additional damage after the first thing.
Yeah. And if you're just sitting there waiting, then you're just like making the game
wasting a lot of time.
Harder for yourself. Yeah.
And the enemies have like 6 times the health that you do. They have like 3 health bars, and also their health bars are twice the size of yours at the beginning. So the games are really hard if you play them thinking that you can only get in one hit per a flashing thing. But like, it's not even just that there's a hidden combo system, but it's a hidden combo system that changes a little bit every game.
Yeah.
And the game does nothing to tell you about it.
Yeah. As you were discussing on the GameCola Discord channel.
Yes, I talked about it. There's a lot of wacky systems. Like, story-wise, the Mega Man Zero games definitely feel like a series, but like in terms of like just the literal moment-to-moment gameplay, 0, 1, and 2 feel like the alpha and beta for 0, 3. Like, it feels like they're learning what works and doesn't work in these actual like by making the video game and then releasing it. When like really this should have been fixed in like the initial development stages of, oh, this doesn't work, we need to fix it. Right? In the first Zero game, I think I said this already, but like you get like this currency and you don't get enough of it to use any of the power-ups that the narrative discourages you from using anyway, but that's a completely separate point. But you don't like get enough currency to actually use the power-ups. And then they fix that in 2, but that's like, they should have, if the development was proper, they should have fixed it. There should have been something that they could have fixed the first time around. But I'm guessing they didn't have a lot of time because I've been doing a lot of like, now that I know I've played more of these Mega Man games, I can like look into more of like the development history and developer interviews. And one of the things that I see pop up a lot post Mega Man X is there is a lot of initial pre-planning that does not like, well, not pre-planning, but like concept stage and like pre-development.
Yeah.
And then that leads to certain elements getting really, really overdevelopment and certain elements getting literally no attention.
Yeah.
Like, there's an interview with the current producer of the Mega Man series, the guy who's basically doing Keiji Inafune's role in modern Mega Man since 2018, at least. And he worked on Mega Man 7 as like a game developer, as like a programmer. And he talked about how in the 3 months they had to make Mega Man 7, which I want to put an addendum, because I said, oh, there's 3 months between the release of Mega Man X2 and Mega Man 7, so those were probably different teams. No, it was the same team, and they just did it in 3 months. And before the team got it, there was a lengthy period where they were working with the other group, Minakuchi Engineering, who was like a collaborative studio through a lot of the Game Boy games and some other Mega Man games at that point. And so, like, he was talking about how, like, and he didn't name any names, but, like, you can figure it out from other things. Like, there was a lot of arguing back and forth about certain elements of the games in the pre-production stage. And then he starts talking about the developing stage where he was like, oh, yeah, we were given, like, a ton of information about the robot masters and the bosses and nothing about how we should make the levels.
Yeah.
And it's like, that issue feels like it gets exacerbated over the course of the series, where Zero has these really cool ideas and concepts and characters that are engaging, and then the video game feels like people are trying to figure out how to make the video game as the series is happening. And there's only 1 year between each game in the series, and they all use identical graphics. A lot of them reuse like locations. Even there's like a home base where you do all of your stuff from, and that's just the exact same in 2 of the games. And so that's sort of the impression that I've got, but I really want to understand like all of it. I probably won't ever make a video game, but I like to think that someday maybe I would, and it would definitely be a game like Mega Man. And so understanding what works and doesn't work in those sorts of things is just something that I like to do. So that's sort of been my approach, and why I should play X5 through X8, even though I'm concerned that they're not going to be very good. That's what I keep hearing.
Did I ever talk about the anecdote I heard about one of the NASCAR games and its development?
Maybe, but I would be happy for you to repeat it.
That like in the center of the donut of like the racetrack, underground beneath the grass, there is a very tiny football field goal, because they built it on the engine for Madden something, and they were like, if we remove the field goal, the game does not start. So they just like put it underground where you can't see it, like under the racetrack beneath the grass, very small.
Wow. Beautiful.
Sorry, as you were discussing, like, oh yeah, they very hurriedly just built this on top of existing stuff using existing assets. I was reminded of this tale that I heard once upon a time on Twitter, the most reliable of websites for game development information.
Right. Yeah.
And I want to maybe couch some initial things like, well, Mega Man NES used the same graphics for all the things. It's like the characters, yes, but like they didn't necessarily reuse like anything aside from the characters, right? Like Mega Man looks the same, but you never play like, oh, this is just, Cutman stage again.
Yeah.
And right, or even like, the stage select, like obviously the structure of it is very similar, but it's like at least overtly different. Sometimes it's a little gaudy, but like they do change it. And there's not really anything exactly like that, like the base in the Zero games, but like that was sort of like, okay, these people aren't being given enough time or guidance to make these games properly until they get to 03, where they kind of are able to bring everything together into something fun. And then 04, they didn't want to make, but they had to, so they just sort of came up with other ideas. And 04 has a lot of like, this is just in here to be a different thing. Like, there's weather in the levels, and you can pick what weather you go to, and the weather will make it easier, but you'll lose more points and you don't get this special ability. And it's like, well, then why would you, if it's easier, but then you can never get the special ability, then that actually makes the game harder overall. So you're not just punishing like with score, which doesn't really mean anything, but now you're making, oh, you take the easy route, well, we're going to make the game harder because you did that. It's like, I don't think that's how making game playable for everyone works. But they had a lot of issues. Man, you should read. I've also been reading Mega Man interviews for this, and like the stark contrast between reading interviews about Mega Man 9 and 10 and then Mega Man 11. Man, it's like what makes in Mega Man 9 and 10, like what makes a Mega Man game is that it's hard. It's really hard. And it's hard for people to do it. And we put it in easy mode, but the game's hard. And then, Mega Man 11 is like, we really want a Mega Man game that like everyone could enjoy, both old and new fans. And I'm like, I wonder why I like Mega Man 11 better than Mega Man 9 and 10.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because the easy mode isn't like, oh, do you need these baby platforms to keep you from dying?
Yeah.
Here's the baby platform. Here's the power-up that refills everything for you because you need the baby help.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty
So,
cool.
Those are some opinions about Mega Man that I have this month. Tune in to the next podcast to hear more things that I have to say about Mega Man. Jeddy, what video games have you been playing in recent times?
Actually, the on topic, the video game I've been playing has been video game development. Yeah.
I haven't heard of that. What system is it on?
PC.
Isn't that Dreams? Is that the game that you're talking about?
Dreams? Is that the
Isn't
one
there
with
a game called Dreams that's like a level creator or like a game maker and like people make a bunch of like, it's Morrow and he does the jump.
I'm not sure about that one. I mean, probably. I guess I'm thinking, what was the one with it was on Dreamcast and it had like a jester character?
Oh, you're thinking about like, that's a different kind of Dreams. I think it has the name Dream in the title,
like
but I...
Night something, I don't know. Anyway, the point is I've been going back to Game Maker Studio and working on video games.
Woo!
Again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pizzarian, the RPG.
Yeah, well, Pizzarian DX, the Game Boy Color version.
The director's cut of Pizzarian just happens to be in a JRPG.
Yeah. I guess that's the thing is like, I'm at the point of like, oh yeah, I get to develop what the concept of an item is. What makes an item, what goes into that, and how do I store it, and how do I load it, all these fun things that you don't really think about at first, and then it's like, oh yeah, there's like 18 different steps into what makes an item, and how to even get to the point where you're able to think about what's needed for an item.
And how do you tell the reason why the brackets in your font are 2 points larger than all of the other characters in your font?
Yeah, that was a fun one. Trying to figure out why all of my text was 4 pixels lower than I was telling it to be. The Adventures in Game Development. That's been the game that I've been playing as of late.
Very nice.
It is exciting. You can come and talk to me on the Discord about it, should you feel so inspired, oh listener.
Oh listener.
Oh listener.
Oh listener.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to our podcast.
Wow. It's a good one.
Oh listener, there's other GameCola things that you can partake in.
I can't believe you do.
Like Hex and Slash
I hate this.
and the videos on YouTube. There's other stuff,
It's
probably. Visit our
February.
website.
Bash us on iTunes.
Yeah. Oh listener.
Email us at podcast@GameCola.net. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search GameCola. GC.net, the letter G, the letter C, the word dot, the word net. That's the YouTube channel. Find us on Discord. The link is in the Twitter bio description.
Okay, now bust out
and
the ukulele.
On the website, the actual internet website, the ukulele's across the room. I don't feel like getting it. Also, I don't know how to play this song on the ukulele. Thank you for listening to this edition of the GameCola Podcast.
Yeah, thank you for listening past us singing. Thank you for listening to this point.
It's been a long day for me, okay? Cut me some podcast slack.
Some slack and hash?
We need to end this podcast. We need to do it now. It's falling apart. The podcast is falling apart.
We need to assume
Thank you.
that it
Thank you
had
for
already
listening.
fallen apart a while ago.
Goodbye. Have a good time wherever it is, whenever it is you're listening to this. Goodbye.
Bye,
Bye.
Anna almost didn't say goodbye. She doesn't like the listeners. She doesn't want to have them a goodbye.